This is a set of moderate difficulty level. Data given in the two table is quite easy to understand, and questions are also not that difficult if one goes through data carefully and go through questions cool-headedly. He or she would be able to answer all the questions of this set pretty easily. Here it is given that the table below shows the fare structure and the average number of passengers who travel per day for a bus service connecting villages A, B, C and D. From the table it can be seen that the fare from A to C is rupees 18, from C to D it is 13, and the average number of passengers who travel per day from A to B it is 30, from B to A it is 25. Similarly, we can check for other combo of stations. It is also known that a passenger who wants to travel by using the given bus service can buy a ticket between any two of the given stations only, which means if a person wants to travel from A to D, he has to buy a ticket from A to D. It's not possible for him to buy a ticket from A to B, then B to C and C to D, or A to B and B to D, or A to C and C to D, unless he gets down at next station or wherever he wants to, and then again boards the bus. And it is also given that that a commuter has to buy a ticket at the boarding station, which means when a person wants to travel from A to C, he has to buy a ticket at A, and this amount will be considered as collection made at A. So that's all about data. Now, coming to the question, the first question asks at which station is the collection the maximum. Now, we have to answer this question by taking a close look at the figures given in the two tables rather than doing calculations. Simple, if we want to calculate it, it would be like total collection made at A will be fare from A to B into number of passenger plus fare from A to C into number of passenger who travel from A to C plus fare from A to D, which is 16, into number of passenger who travel from A to D, 15, and we need to do this calculation for all the four stations, and then see which one comes out to be the maximum. But if we closely observe, we can say that the collection at D would not be maximum, because if we compare fare of A and D, they are by and large very close. But if we see passenger traveling from station D to other station are quite less compared to that travel from A to other station, so D cannot be the answer. Similarly, we can say the same for station C, like fare is not that competitive as it is from A to other stations, but number of passengers are even lesser, so there is no likelihood that C could be the station where maximum collection takes place. Now look at B. If we see fare from B to other stations, it is not very high compared to A for 2 stations, but for C it is really low. At C, that is from B to C is 18, and from A to C is 18, and B to C is 8. And when we see number of passengers traveling from B to C is really huge, but fare is very low, so B can also not be the answer. A, which has competitive fare or quite high fare from its origin, from starting point to other stations, and number of passengers traveling to other stations are also quite good, so A will be our answer. Come to the next question. In this question we have to find what is the daily collection on the route B to C. From the table it can be seen that fare from B to C is rupees 8 and the number of passengers traveling is 42. Fare from B to C is 13 and the number of passengers traveling is 5. Fare from D to C is 13 and the number of passengers traveling from D to C is 14. And finally the number of passengers traveling from C to B is 12 and the fare is 8. This comes out to be 679. This is one of the easiest questions of this set. Here just some basic calculations are there and then we get the answer. In the next question it is given that fare is charged at a rate 40 paise per kilometer along all the routes except B to D, along which it is 60 paise per kilometer. What is the approximate length of the route BDAC? Fare along the route BD is 60 and fare charge from B to D is for 20 rupees and per kilometer fare is 60 paise, which means the distance between B and D is 20 upon 0.6, which is 3.3 kilometer. Coming to route DA, total fare is 16 and fare per kilometer is 0.4, which is 40. And finally A to C, fare charged is 18, fare per kilometer is 0.4, this is equal to 45. When we add these three quantities, we'll get a figure of around 118 as the distance. Therefore option A is the correct answer. We have a revenue inspector who resides in village C, travels to village A, B and D in that order on regular basis. His pattern of travel is such that he travels to only one village each day and returns to his home village at the end of the same day, which means he buys 2 tickets on every day whenever he travels. What are his expenses on bus fare in the month of September 1999, considering he does not travel on Sundays? It is further known that 31st July is a Sunday and the inspector travels to village D on 30th September. So if 31st July is Sunday, then the first Sunday in September will be on 4th. Next will be on 11th, then 18th and 25, which means he must have traveled on 30 minus 4, that is 26 days in the month. And as he travels A, B, D in that order, which means there is a cycle of 3, and if we divide 26 by 3 we get 8 as quotient and 2 as remainder, which means he had traveled at least 3 times to each of the 3 mentioned villages, and on the rest of 2 days as he traveled village D on 30th September, which means the day before 30th September he must have traveled B, which means he traveled 9 days to village B as well as D and 8 days to village A. So the total fare will be the total expenses of traveling to village A, which will be 8 into 2, as he bought 2 tickets on each day, and the fare from C to A, which is 18, plus 9 into 2 fare from C to B, which is 8, and plus 9 into 2 into fare from C to D, which is 13, and it comes out to be 666. Therefore option B is the correct answer.